Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and I am here today to review Hell's Kitchen, Season 23, Episode 9. First off, Gordon brings in the quote-unquote gastro gang, two chefs who are in sync and do performative cooking. Oh wait, they're a band, not chefs. That was strange. I don't know why. That was, I was like, what? That was like, this episode was just like full of surprises and full of like, what? Like, just like what moments, or like big like, whoa moments. The teams have to cook 2 appetizers and 3 entrees. Kyle gets upset. Joe gives him constructive criticism. What a crybaby. And yeah, like right off the bat, like all Joe said was like, you have too much acid in your dish. And then Kyle was like, oh, you want me to pick apart your dishes too? It's like, oh my god, that's really childish. In the middle of cooking, a chef has to leave from each team. Funnily enough, Amanda is the first one to volunteer to leave out of both teams, and I was like, yeah, that's definitely ironic. He continues to ask chefs to leave until there's one left on each team. There was a decision to make fresh dough for the dumplings by Brittany. Whit has a fit about it because she ends up having to cook Brittany's dish, and she can't handle doing it. So it's funny because I feel like this is literally the only scenario where Brittany's fresh dough plan could go wrong. You know what I mean? Like, this is the only way that could have happened, and it happened. And we'll see what happens with that. Brandon and Hannah are the last ones standing, and they both are very confident about working it alone. Lulu goes mad with power, bossing Brandon around. I bet her original team is glad she isn't on theirs anymore. And actually, she's nowhere after this episode. Hannah's scallop appetizer looks delicious. So does Lulu's. It really makes me hungry for scallops. Both get a point. And I haven't had scallops in a long time. Like a long time. I would really like to have scallops. So this episode really made me hungry. Even though I had dinner and dessert, like while I was watching this episode, like I'm hungry. I'm still hungry. Like if you put Hannah's scallops in front of me, I'm gonna eat the scallops. I'm gonna lick the fucking plate. Clean. The second appetizer was the dumpling dish of Brittany's versus Egypt's dish. Even though there was that whole debacle around the fresh dough, they both were good enough to get a point. Boom. And that was actually a big surprise. I was like, whoa, really? Both get the points for the fish entree. Both get the point for the next round too. It all comes down to Joe versus Whit. Joe's looks better visually, but who knows which one actually tastes better. Oh, both got the point. It all came down to the best dish overall. And it's funny, because as soon as Gordon said that, I wrote on my phone. See, what I do is I write notes while I watch the episode. I write them down, and I wrote down in all caps, Hannah, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. And then as soon as I said that, he announced Hannah's dish was the best. And I was like, ha ha ha, I predicted it. Because like I was like, yeah, that would be the number one dish I would want to eat out of all those that I saw tonight. So I was like, yeah, that is totally on point. And to be honest, I feel like Hannah is kind of emerging out of the women's team as like a clear favorite. She kind of reminds me of Sammy from last season. except, I don't know, Sammy was a little bit more, like, pretentious, a little bit, and not, like, in a terrible way, but just Hannah seems a little bit more down to earth, with her cooking. Anyways, the women's team gets to go to New York, and then Brandon chooses to go with them because he's kind of a woman too, and and he forces Anne Marie to stay with the boys. And honestly, I'm not a big fan of Brandon. It feels like he is punishing Anne Marie because she indirectly made Anthony go home. And it totally felt like he did that out of spite. Like he forced her to stay out of spite. The men's team has to make fresh bread and shit. And this time Anne Marie is the one being annoying. It's funny how the tables have been turned on Kyle. And so, yeah, this episode in particular, it felt like Kyle was like the punching bag the whole episode. It was pretty hilarious. Egypt and Joe have a good rhythm during service, but then Egypt is going too fast in the appetizers. I felt bad for Kyle this time, since he got blamed for not having his scallops ready. Seems like Egypt needs to listen to his team a little bit more, even though they hate him and they're out to get him. And it's funny because somebody in the comments, I think that they said that only Brandon didn't like Egypt. But I think that, or they might have said Lulu, because it really felt from this episode that Kyle, Brandon, and Lulu do not like Egypt. Brittany undercooks the halibut. Sadly, oh, wait, I skipped in the red team fails with their first appetizers. Seems like Brittany is stressed out. Lulu is doing poorly too. And then Brittany also undercooked the halibut. This was actually terrible because Hell's Kitchen alumni were at Hell's Kitchen to eat dinner, and the halibut was for them. So that was a big error. And she did manage to redeem herself, though. And I really felt like, honestly, Brittany escaped tonight by the hair of her on her chinny chin. Right? And then, honestly, it felt like at this point, so far, everything in the service was kind of a tie, just like the challenge. And then, just like the challenge, the men's team failed. Because Lulu, ironically, if she's not a man, she's a woman on the man's team, she takes it upon herself to speed Kyle up and rush him. And Kyle fails with the meat. This time, it is overcooked halibut. And once again, the men screw up. And now this is where something weird happened with my TV. Or it happened with my phone. It went to the commercials. And then when it came back, the men were already back in the dorms. So I was not able to see why the men got kicked out. I did not get the privilege of seeing those couple of minutes. So... And it's funny because this whole episode is all about being in or out of sync, being in rhythm, etc., etc. And then, surprise, surprise, Lulu tries blaming Egypt, typical on the men's team. She says that Egypt should go home. I felt like, honestly, like, that was really disingenuous of her. Because, like, yeah, he did have those couple of screw-ups at the beginning, but she screwed up as well. And she screwed up, like, I don't know. Honestly, I wasn't there during the... Like, I'm not actually cooking with them. I'm just reviewing the show. But I can just say that, like, it really feels outlandish to say, like, that Egypt, out of all the people on the men's team, deserved to go home. When he just screwed up twice at the beginning. And really, honestly, it's more so about communication than anything. It's more so about the fact that, like, I don't think that Egypt trusts his team. His whole team. I think that it's a way of, like, he's trying to avoid them. And he's trying to... I don't know. That's just what it feels like to me. because it feels like, if you don't like people and if you don't like working with them, you try to avoid them. You try to, like, okay, like, I gotta deal with this person, but I'm gonna do it as little as possible. And, and I won't go into any more details with that, but that's what it felt like Egypt was doing. But I could be wrong. He could just have a weakness in the communication department in which maybe he won't win the season, and maybe it will be Brandon. Hopefully not. That would be my worst nightmare, okay? Like, I will literally accept any other person in the entire show winning this season except for Brandon. Please. You give me Brittany. Give me Kyle is the Hell's Kitchen winner of this season over Brandon. Thank you. So Lulu and Kyle get nominated for elimination, thankfully. Kyle starts crying, and at this point I was like, uh-oh, Gordon is going to send him home so fast. But then, boom, surprise, surprise, Lulu goes home. And there's this funny part where she stands at the exit door, and I think that she was waiting for Gordon to save her and change his mind. But Gordon, like, he was being nice. And so he was like, Lulu, the doors are not automatic. You got to push them open yourself. And I legitimately felt like she knew that she had to push them open. She definitely was standing there because she thought that Gordon was going to save her. She thought that Gordon was going to pull another switcheroo and say, oh, actually, Lulu, get back in line. Because that's what he does. He's like, okay, Kyle, get your shit together. Get back in line. That's just his delivery. And he tells her to fuck off. So I would give this episode an A-. I thought it was a pretty damn good episode. And I enjoyed it. It's really funny because I went to Hell's Kitchen on IMDb. I don't usually pay attention to the ratings. Like the people vote on how many stars out of 10 for a movie or show. But the ratings have been really low for the past 2 weeks on this show. And I wonder if it's just because of the people who've gone home or what. Especially last week. Last week's episode has a 6.6 out of 10 on IMDb. That's the one where Anthony goes home. So I really feel like that people are lashing out because these better chefs have gone home and then Amanda is still there. God help me. Oh God. Amanda could win the season. Oh no. Oh no. That would be another worst case scenario. But no, it's not that I dislike these people, like, personally. I'm just talking about, like, the characters that I see on the show. Like, when you make a movie or when you make a show, because I think that people also, they don't understand that reality TV is still TV. It's not real life. The editors do shit. The producers do shit. Like, there's a bunch of manipulation. In fact, a big thing that I learned about recently was the whole cake debacle on MasterChef. Where Leslie, he was, like, in the top 3 or something. And then he baked this cake, and they pretended like he put salt in it instead of sugar. And apparently, he did not put salt in it instead of sugar. It was a lie. And he was forced to, or I guess he just volunteered to pretend like it was salty. And so, you got to understand that, like, even though I'm ragging on some of these people, I'm not really ragging on them personally. I don't hang out with random people, but I would hang out with any of these chefs. And I had to say that, like, as hesitantly as possible, I would hang out with any of these people. You know, like, as long as they make me some fucking scallops. If Hannah comes over, makes me some fucking scallops, I'll hang out with her. Same with Kyle. I just hope that Kyle doesn't make a snow angel in the garbage can, because it seems like he likes trash. Anyways, this was a fun episode, and for some reason I sound better and I kind of feel better. It's been going up and down for me. It's been really weird these past couple of weeks. So it's just been a continuing, up and down thing. And so that's why I haven't had as many videos. It's just because, like, I get kind of anxious, too, about doing a video and then, like, the video not turning out well because of my not feeling well or something like that, So please like this video and comment and tell us what you thought about the episode. And by the way, Safi from Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies will be watching Hell's Kitchen next week. She decided to say no last week and no again this week. And here's what she did, guys. She came in when this episode was halfway over, and she told me, "Okay, Marco, you're going to have to tell me what happened in the episode so far." And I said, "Fuck that! You're going to get punished now." And so she's having to watch both episodes this week so that she can play catch up for next week, because Safi from Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies is getting a little bit too carried away with this, like, with my being nice and allowing her to, say, like, I don't want to watch that. I don't want to review that. I don't want to review that show. She kind of does that all the time now, which is kind of ridiculous, because the channel starts with Safi. It doesn't start out with Marco. In fact, like, I think if I had my own channel, like, without Safi, it wouldn't be called Marco Dishes Out on Movies. Because, like, I when I came up with that title, I wasn't even originally going to be in the title. It was originally just going to be Safi Dishes Out on Movies, because I thought it would be perfect for Safi. If it was just Marco, it would probably be like Marco Roasts Hollywood or something like that. Oh my god, that's a good title. Okay, I'm getting ideas now. And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more Honest Hell's Kitchen reviews. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.